listening to the Offbeat Business Show, rebuilding American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, bringing you experienced insight for a strong, influential brand and successful life in business. Here's your host, Susan Hamilton.
Well, hello there. You're watching Offbeat Business TV. I'm your host, Susan Hamilton, where we represent the 80% of American micro to small business that tend to be family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less. That means we're building our business while we're raising our kids, taking care of our parents. We probably have a veteran in our family or workspace, and over 30% of us have an addict in our family or workspace. These are unique times. You know, that stuff's been going on a long time. But at this particular time in American life, the types of conversations that the average American business is having concern criminal justice, healthcare, taxation, Veterans Administration. And so we come to you understanding who you are in short programs that hopefully you'll take away something that inspires you and helps you to do something awesome with your business, your family, your community, because we are the authentic voice of American business. And we hope that we're shining a light into ways that we can do things better. I'm honored to share with you Dr. Nathanial Hearne. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'll tell you what, we have had a wonderful few conversations, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit of stuff with really digging deep here with Dr. Hearne, because we've had some really great experiences that are kind of similar and from two different points of view. But we have the same trust and belief system in a good God as we go forward building our business, as we are working within the criminal justice situation. And we want to be great examples in our communities.
Yes, we do.
So I'm excited about what you're doing and your speaking and the types of things that you bring to our communities.
Yes. I'm former educator for 35 years, started out as a science teacher and a football coach for many years. 10 of those years of coaching football was served at Permian High School back in the heyday. Won more games than anyone in the state of Texas from 1980 to 1990. Went into being an administrator and named principal of the year in 2 different school districts. And from there went to being a director over student attendance and the truancy department, which led me into retiring. And now for the past 11 months, 28 days, I've served as a chaplain for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
Oh, that's exciting. And well, you saw it firsthand when you're dealing with the truancy department, because really those types of things start showing themselves that early.
Exactly.
Oh, our kids need us, doctor. Our kids need us, and they need us to step up in so many ways. But geez, we're busy. We're busy running our businesses. We're busy with all the things that impact our life in business now, jumping through hoops to get everything right so we're not fined or penalized, and really highly technological atmosphere that we have. And a lot of people that we report to aren't as highly technological, so it takes some time.
It does.
So when you started working with these kids, when I heard you speak at Ziegler, I recognized that you had a unique perspective because you had been on the other side of that as well. You remember being encouraged.
Yes.
And so you saw yourself as time passed on, how you could turn around and reach down and grab somebody else. Would you mind sharing those experiences with our audience? Because I think they're so impactful.
I'd love to. Yeah, I grew up in poverty. I'm the middle child of 8 siblings. Would have been 9 of us. Younger brother died at birth. My father worked as an attendant at a humble service station the majority of his life. My mother worked as a domestic. She cleaned houses for a living, and she did that until the day that she died, all because of her service attitude. She had 8 children who became professionals. We all were degreed. We did everything for her that she wanted, but she continued to do that because of her servant attitude. We lived in a 3-room, not bedroom house, to sit on cinder blocks. When my mother ready to bathe us, she would pour hot water in a number 5-foot tub, and that's how we took our baths. There was no bathroom, no indoor bathroom facilities. The majority of the clothes that I wore came from the homes that my mom cleaned. I remember going to school at an early age, and that's what kind of had that low self-esteem. I walked around with holes in my clothes, holes in my shoes, carrying dry meat and bread bologna sandwiches to school. And it was the hardest thing for me to do at that elementary school, walk around like that. And that low self-esteem reflected in all my report cards. I had filled with C's, D's, and F's, and did not want to go to school. I told my mom, when I left 6th grade, I was done with school.
Yeah.
I'm never going back. I hate it. And but she had a different attitude about that.
Did she?
Yes, she was the Muhammad Ali of that house, and she had never lost a bout with any of her 8 children. So we knew. And I remember the first day of elementary school just like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, of junior high school just like it was yesterday. Headed off. I hated it because nothing has changed. I'm still walking around with dry meat and bread, bologna sandwiches in a brown paper sack, holes in my jeans, holes in my shirts, holes in my shoes. My brother and I used to put cardboard in the soles of our shoes to keep the heat of the pavement out in the summer, the water out when it rained, the cold out in the winter. And walking around like that.
Wow, so you learned at a very young age to the practice
Yes.
of comparing yourself with other people. And I
Yes.
think kids it's so easy for them as adults. We can we're not supposed to compare ourselves against ourselves, but boy, we do, don't we?
All the time.
We do, and we start at those young and tender years. It just makes our heart hurt
Yes.
to see that. But those things are still happening today because I interviewed Sir Earl Toon last year in November, and he told me there were 5,000 homeless children in DISD as of Thanksgiving 2016.
Yes, still happening. Yeah, we have tons of kids who are couch surfers who live with other students. And we do a disservice because we pad our numbers sometimes, Susan, in the school system.
Oh, you think?
We only have a 15% dropout rate or a 10% dropout rate.
It's at least 30.
Yeah, easily. And sometimes what they do is that because a kid signed up and says he's going to take a GED, he has he is never going to go to that GED. He signs a paper and they say that's not a dropout, not at all. And when we have lots of kids who move to other communities, they say they're going to move, but they never move. They stay in the community. But because the school system has those papers that say they move, that's not a dropout on their district. Students still a dropout.
Thank you for spelling that out for us because it's hard to tell where those things come from. But like you said, every agency wants to represent favorably.
Yes,
right?
They do, and we do our kids and children a disservice. And the reason that I'm so adamant about what I do is because I've seen so many failures. I've seen so many. If a kid does not fit the mold, if he's not mainstream, if there's any kind of special service that kid needs, the district is going to kind of frown because that takes money and personnel. And once you don't fit the mold, they're kind of like, oh well, we release you.
We have to have a better approach. I really love what Village Tech is doing here in the Cedar Hill area to show a different way of how to encourage our kids to stay engaged, because that's the issue. And it's the issue across the board, because when you look at even the engagement in the business community, how many of your teammates are actually engaged in what you're doing? What is that number? I'm thinking they said that like 35% of your company is probably actively disengaged. Is that accurate?
That's close. I would think so. I believe with all my heart, the most important thing about what we should do in the school system is character.
Yes, sir.
We want our children to have character. And we put a lot of emphasis on passing the state test, which has statistically proven that has no value whatsoever in the success of that child. So if I'm a mom or a dad, and my kid is taking a test that has no value, and no one is trying to help my kid learn how to learn non-cognitive skills. Those skills like grit, self-discipline,
yes, sir,
perseverance.
Stuff you could teach as a coach.
Those things are the things that help our children be successful. And we shy away from that because we ask the question, who should teach it? Well, we should all teach it. Yes, sir.
So somebody once said, and I can't remember where it came from, but it's one thing to know the difference between an apple and an orange, or a tomato, an apple and tomato, for instance. It's another thing to know that you don't put the tomato in a fruit salad.
That's right.
So that's the type of education that we need to be considering when we look at these kids. Because you're seeing things at a different angle. You know, I have a history with my children. It's with criminal justice, so I do understand what that looks like to watch your children go through the system and then struggle to get back up. And I've also ministered and taught through several programs inside both of our county and state jails, as have you. You've been sent to some pretty hairy places because they know they can count on you to go in there and cause improvement to happen. But if you were going to say how many of those inmates that you're dealing with don't have education and don't have graduation, what would you say that percentage is of the people that you are exposed to on a regular basis?
In the prison system, I'm saying 60-70% of them.
My goodness.
Yes.
So education, I would say there's a correlation there, would you?
It is a correlation. And what the Texas Department of Criminal Justice is kind of gearing back on demands for the GED. They first wanted it to be a premier program, but they're finding that the same resistance, that man now who was a kid back in the 3rd grade is still doing the same things that he did when he didn't want to go to school in the secular world. They're finding that you've got to find the hook to keep them motivated to get the GED.
Wait a minute, Dr. Hearne, that's work. That's work. It means we got to come up with something.
That's right.
It means we got to step into an uncomfortable space. We got to talk to people.
Yes.
Hey, are you shorthanded in the prison system?
Yes, we are.
A little bit.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes, very much. And one of the things that we do I try to do in the prison system is help the inmates understand that they're taught. One of the things that they're taught is all about me, me, me. In order to get out, in order to be successful, I've got to concentrate on me, my IEP, individual placement, individual program. Everything that I do is about me. And when I've gone in, I've talked to them and said, hey, that's totally opposite of what I'm going to try to teach you. Because being a leader and being successful when you are in here and when you get out is not about you. It's about what you can do for someone else.
Oh, Dr. Hearne, those are golden words. We're going to take a break and go to hear from a few of our sponsors. And when we get back, we're going to continue this conversation. I hope you're enjoying Dr. Hearne as much as I am. Don't you think this is fascinating? Hey, friends, this is something we can impact. Come right back.
The American business economy is positioned as it has never been before. Professional videography is a core element for attracting a higher level of engagement with the people group you need for significant impact. Now is your time to shine. My name is Bill Brock, owner of White Rock Films, and I invite you to a powerful opportunity in the marketplace. An opportunity to draw excited people to your events, an opportunity to showcase your ideas on infrastructure, an opportunity to become known as the industry authority and enjoy the associated benefits of a strong, influential brand. Video highlights, video teaches. Video puts a resistant market at ease, and video stirs the hearts and imaginations of your allies and strategic client base. White Rock Films offers full audio, video production for businesses ready to embrace the future, handling your project with professionalism, experience, and polish unheard of in the industry. My name is Bill Brock, and White Rock Films wants your business. See us online at whiterockfilms.com.
And we're back. You're watching Offbeat Business TV. I'm talking with Dr. Nathanial Hearne today about character and leadership development, and specifically some of the things that we've seen through education, through our ISDs, and then through the criminal justice system, which you've probably heard and experienced within the groups that you've served. The whole prison or school to prison pipeline that a lot of Americans are talking about right now. Do you recognize that?
Yes. One of the things that we found when I was director of student attendance in the truancy department in the public school system was children really started dropping out in elementary school. 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Can you imagine? What on earth is that about?
And so what I mean by that is this. When we had a student who was 17 and 18 and the administrators had, high referrals, discipline referrals, high truancy rates, lots of absences. It's like, let's say they missed 45, 50 days of school. It's a lot of days of school, right? And they're 17, and they're not being successful in school. So the principals, they don't know what to do with them. They want to get rid of them, so they call, and I tried to do programs for them. But in the instance of going back and doing those programs, I found that if they had 45, 50 absences when they were 16, 17 years old, you go back to being in the second, third, fourth, fifth grade, they had that same number.
What on earth do you do about it, though? Because sometimes there's legitimate experiences that cause that. You know, we were raised the way we were raised. We had when our religion had us taking off the Feast of Tabernacles, and that usually entailed a long trip. And so I remember them saying that about us and scolding my mother. So I remember the teachers trying to do something about that at an early age. But when you're looking back, I mean, there might be legitimate reasons for it. But what do we do? What do we do, and how do we recognize when and it's not a legitimate reason? And is it our business, Dr. Hearne? How do we even touch this sensitive thing?
It is our business. Now, your parents probably had the attitude that they were going to be in communication with the school system, right? They're going to try to be proactive.
Oh, they knew where we were,
yes.
Right. It wasn't like we dropped off the grid.
No, you didn't. And they were proactive about getting your work ahead of time. And then you were proactive about doing your work and turning it in, right? But you're absolutely right, Susan, that there are extenuating circumstances, and the school system, most of the administrators I know took that into adherence. They adhered to that, and they would try to help parents. What I'm talking about are the parents who never, ever said anything to the school. And you're right, there are extenuating circumstances. I do not believe that any parent wants their child to fail. I don't.
No, but we don't realize we're setting them up for it either. That's the danger zone, and that's what I appreciate you sharing with our audience, because we need to know when to support a community member who's struggling in that space, and how, you know, when our business gets tough, when we think our kids are small, so it's just elementary school, so they can skip home.
That's good.
Those things are dangerous.
They never catch up.
Yeah.
Once they are behind, they never, ever catch. And parents don't understand that. It doesn't matter if they're only pre-K. Once you take them out of that environment and you say, we're going to miss 20, 30 days because it's not important, the kids that are continually coming are going to advance ahead of your child, and they'll never be able to catch up. They don't understand that dynamic.
What do we do to change it, though? What if you're talking to a responsible person here right now who just didn't make that connection before? What if we're impacting positive change just by having this conversation? What can we do? How can we turn that around?
We have to be more proactive as parents. And I understand that there are parents out there who are, you know, single moms working 2 and 3 jobs.
Exactly.
I understand
that is our case today.
Yes. And that's what America is built on nowadays. But within that, you've got to understand the priority of importance. The most important thing about you when you had that child is that child.
Yes,
all right? Now, some of the things they can do with that, and you know, like...
Well, you're kind of a prime example of that, sir.
Yeah. They don't need the Nike shoes. They don't need the expensive designer clothes, as long as they're dressed nice. But the most important thing that you can do, if you're a working mom, the most important thing that you can do, and it's statistically proven, that if you, as a single mom, hug your child every morning and tell them, I love you and you're successful, they have a 99% chance of being successful as an adult.
Whew, that's good news. That's good news. And you know what? You had a similar experience when you were a young man, and that helped kind of turn your tide around.
Yes.
Share that.
When I entered junior high school, my first day, I'll never forget it. I entered my science class, Mr. Haig's 5th period science class, and I was looking for a seat in the corner in the back in the dark. Why? Because I had holes in my clothes, holes in my shoes, carrying a bologna sandwich in my hand. And
you had already identified yourself as less.
Yes. And so when you're like that, you want to keep everything in front of you because you don't want trouble. You don't want to fight. You know someone's going to say something, so you sit in the back.
Okay.
But as I walked through the door, when I decided I wanted that seat, Mr. Haig was at his desk and he stood up And he came and he said, "You must be Nathanial." He said, "I've heard a lot of wonderful things about you." And when he did that, I went, "Me? You're talking to me?" And I actually looked behind me to see if he was really talking to me. But he was. And he came over, he shook my hand, he put his arm around me, he escorted me into the classroom. And as he's escorted me, he's talking to me and he said, "Nathaniel, this is your desk." And he pointed to a desk on the front row directly in front of his desk. You know, Susan, that was the worst place for me.
Was that a little intimidating?
That was definitely intimidating. Fear just rained down all over my body. But Mr. Haight was a connector. He had a personality about him. He really genuinely cared about people, and he cared about me. In a very short period of time, he made me very comfortable in that classroom because he could take a classroom of students and make every single one of them feel like they had a private tutor, and that's how he made me feel. And when I left his class on that first day, I did feel special about myself because of him. My next class was 7th grade football, and I'm lined up outside with all the other 7th graders waiting for the coaches to come out, and out walks this giant of a man. He's 6'4", he's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and he comes down the line shaking hand. He gets to me and he said, "You're Hearne, right?" He said, "I heard you were a good athlete." And he said, "Hearne, you're going to be on my team. We're going to have a lot of fun winning football games." My heart leapt. I said, wow. I went home the first day of junior high school, walking on a cloud because 2 teachers had affirmed me, something that had never happened to me before. And that would remain with me. I'm 64 and I'm still talking about it for the rest of my life.
What would happen if we took that type of responsibility, if we took that attitude and that approach in the criminal justice system?
Yes.
Do you think we could turn around some people that feel like they're discarded?
Most definitely. You know, my job is to bring in spiritual awakening to the inmates, things where they connect them. And I can understand how they promote this, you know, get yourself ready to go out. Because some of them don't know how to use cell phones. They never had. I've experienced guys who were incarcerated at the age of 15 and they're just not getting out at the age of 42. Now, everything they've learned.
It just seems,
They've learned in prison. So you gotta say, okay, I gotta take care of it. But once they get out of there, they have to know that it's no longer about me. And I tell them all the time, you have to do it in here. You have to get yourself ready for that in here because you want to be a productive person in society. And being productive means that I care about someone else. I'm not just solely about myself, because if you go out caring just solely about yourself, you're going to wind back up in this prison. And I don't want that. And telling those guys, after every service, we have a service on Saturday from 6 to 8 and a service on Sunday from 7 to 9 in the morning. I end that service every morning, every evening on Saturday by telling those guys, I love you. I love you. And you know what? I have 6'3", 300-pound men coming up, laying their heads on my shoulder and calling me daddy. I've only been there 11 months, Susan. And they're saying the things that's taken place in that prison have never taken place before. Simply because I say, I love you and I want you to be the very best that you can be.
And we are speaking life here at Offbeat Business Media. Is that exciting? Is that exciting or what? Let me tell you something. You can get Dr. Hearne to come and speak to your group. He is all over the United States of America addressing groups and helping them understand things of leadership and character, things that can help them through those generations of dysfunction, or just how to do it better. He'll talk to your school system. He'll talk to your city council. Really consider connecting with Dr. Hearne at madeupminds.org. There's so much information there that you can find. And what is the best way that they can reach out to you, Dr. Hearne?
Well, I'm just going to piggyback on what you said, Susan. It's Nate.Hearne at Made Up Minds, and it's an S on the end. A lot of people miss the S. madeupminds.org or www.drnatehearne.com. Either one of those they can reach me.
And that's interesting. And if you happen to catch this on the radio and you don't have access to a pen, you're driving down the road, we're going to have all this information on the website, so you're going to be able to have access to this. Friends, if you don't have the Offbeat Business app, you're missing out on important information. Our membership directory, you want to be a part of this? You can do it very, very simply. And be known for supporting American business the way it needs to be. We are the authentic voice of American business. Reach out to us, find our lineup, find our magazine, find our TV programs, and our radio. All of this at offbeatbusiness.com.
You've been listening to the Offbeat Business Show. Find our lineup, podcast, magazine, event calendar, and sponsor information, even our membership directory, all available on the Offbeat Business app or at offbeatbusiness.com. Download the Offbeat Business app today.
Take this for me, but